Welcome back to the official Thompson Resume Writing Company YouTube channel, where I share weekly tips and hints on how to update, refresh, and or prepare your resume and or LinkedIn profile for your job search, along with some career advice, some job search tips, and some personal stories of my own. I am Tamika Thompson. I am the owner and resume writer at Thompson Resume Writing Company, and I specialize in transforming bland, lackluster resumes and LinkedIn profiles into powerful selling tools that help corporate mid-level, management, and executive professionals land interviews 2 times faster. If you are new to my channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. If you are a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you so much for showing my content some love. This video is going to be a little different. If you have been tuning into my videos this year so far, you know that in the beginning of January, I talked about switching up my video content and playing around with some different content concepts and just different videos overall to switch it up a little bit. So this is another video that is going to be different from my typical tips and hints and hacks type of video. So it is February. We're like towards the end of February, and I have finally taken some time to really reflect on my professional and career journey in 2021. There were some good things that happened and there were some not so good things that happened. So for this video, I'm going to be sharing my 2021 career highs and lows. I'll be opening up about some things that I overcame, some struggles that happened, and some major wins towards the end of last year that I am super happy to announce and share with you all. Let's get right into it. First things first, I just have to say, before I even get started, 2021 did not go how I planned. If you know anything about me, if you know me in real life, or if you've worked with me maybe on your resume, you know that I am a planner. I am a person who kind of maps things out and I just go after them accordingly. I have spreadsheets, I have to-do lists, I have checklists, like I have all the things. I don't know if it's the Virgo in me, but it's just something about creating a list of goals that just makes me so happy inside. So in December of 2020, actually, I wrote down all the things that I wanted to do, and 2020 for me wasn't necessarily the best, mostly because of the pandemic. And so for 2021, I'm like, this is gonna be my comeback year. I'm gonna do all these things. I'm gonna grow my business to achieve this. I'm gonna achieve all of this in my career. I'm gonna get promoted. I'm gonna da-da-da-da. And when I say none of that happened, none of it happened. Like zero. There were some things that happened that was on my list, but it didn't necessarily go how I pictured that it would go. And while towards the end of the year, things ended up getting way better and a lot of things ended up working out in my favor, I was still really kind of bummed out that things didn't necessarily go how I wanted them to go. And all the twists and turns and the bumps and bruises and hurdles along the way really had me feeling some type of way. But now that it's all said and done and the dust has settled and everything is pretty much for the most part back to normal and taking off, I can sit here and reflect on those moments, the good, the bad, and appreciate them for what they were and celebrate the wins and the losses just the same. So without further ado, here are my 2021 highs and lows. So let's go ahead and start off with the good, right? Because I don't want to relive the negativity just yet. I don't want to start off with the bad vibes. So I'll go ahead and start off with the good. So my highs, right? So number one on the list, definitely top, is landing my dream job. In 2021, I finally, after 6 years of going through the highs and lows in my marketing career and building my professional career and going through so many different things, I landed my dream job. I have not officially announced it on my social media channels yet, so this is kind of a YouTube exclusive. You're welcome. I am the content strategy and customer experience omni-channel marketing manager at Walgreens, which is my dream job. So a fun fact is that I applied to Walgreens, I want to say about 5 years ago when I was first getting started with my marketing career. And I didn't even get to an interview. My resume was rejected like that. I was crushed, but I knew that it was probably because I didn't have the experience just yet. The second time that I applied to Walgreens, I think I made it to like the second interview, and then they ended up going with somebody else. They said I was a strong candidate, but I just wasn't where I needed to be just yet. So this time around, I saw the position and I just went for it. I took a look at my resume. I figured everything was in line. I had my keywords in there. I felt really confident. I felt like I would be a good match, and I applied to it. And what's funny is that I applied to 3 different roles within Walgreens, and I landed interviews for all 3 of them. This one was the one that I ultimately ended up landing. The other 2, I think I made it to like the second round, and they decided to go with someone else. And so out of those 3 positions, when I went ahead and applied, I'm like, okay, I got to get at least one of these. Like, I have 6 years of experience now. I have all these certifications. Like, my experience is a perfect match with this job. I just felt really confident. And so I went ahead and applied. And so it took them, I want to say about 2 weeks to get back to me. I had my first round interview. I was so nervous. Like, I was scared. My voice was kind of like shaking on the phone, but the recruiter was really nice. And then I progressed to the second round, and so on and so forth. All in all, it took about a month to get through the full hiring process, and then it was a full month waiting period before I found out that I had gotten the job. And when I found out, I screamed. I was so happy. My mom was the first person that I called and told, and then I told my sister, and then they told my grandma, and then I told my friends, and I was elated. So a little bit of backstory, because I don't believe that I've shared my career journey on my channel just yet, and I'll probably do another video on this, just sharing like the whole story from start to finish. But my plan was not really to go into marketing. I went to school for broadcast journalism. My goal was to be a news anchor. However, when I graduated, we were still kind of knee deep in the recession, and the opportunities just weren't there. I also wasn't feeling the pay, and I wasn't really feeling like what I would actually be doing and how I would have to start from like the ground up in the news industry and really work my way up. It just didn't seem like a good match. So in the meantime, in between time to get out of my mother's house, and you know the whole thing, when you graduate college, you want to be on your own, you want to be independent, yada yada yada, I ended up segueing into customer service. And then in customer service is when I learned that, hey, I really love marketing. I still very much enjoyed writing. And then I started applying those skills to the emails that we would send out, the newsletters that we would do, changing up the tone, etc., etc. So it wasn't until 2016 where I took the full leap into marketing and was like, I'm done with customer service. I don't want to be on the phone anymore. I didn't want to be hourly anymore. And that is when I went ahead and made that transition. And throughout that 6-year period, I really took the time to learn what my real strengths and what my true skills were as it relates to marketing. So I knew that I was a strong writer, but I needed to learn about social media. I needed to learn about email. I needed to learn about lead generation. I needed to learn about paid search, SEO, e-commerce, like all of the things. I got as many certifications that I could possibly get. I do plan on going back for my master's, like that's next on my list, but I really took that 6 years to try my hand at different things in marketing. I've held a number of different titles. I've kind of hopped around in different industries, and I've really been able to gather what my strength is. And what I've learned by doing all of that is that my strength is marketing strategy, my strength is campaign management, and my strength is content. I love developing content, whether it's a video, a nice downloadable piece of content, a blog piece, a social media post. I'm loving playing around with like Instagram Reels and Instagram Stories, and then I got really good with LinkedIn at some point. So those are like my top things. Which is why this role is so perfect for me, because I will be creating and leading the entire content strategy and marketing strategy for all 12 to 15 channels that we have at Walgreens, and I am elated. So far so good. I love my team, I love my manager, and I am remote, so I'm working from home, which is great because I have thoroughly enjoyed not having to drive in the snow. I am in Chicago, and we've had like, I want to say 3 or 4 blizzards by now, and it has felt so good not to have to like get off work and dust my car off and wear 2 layers of clothes, you know, going into work because it's like -10 degrees outside and all of that. I have not missed that at all. So that was number one on the high list. Number two was landing over 20 interviews during my job search process, which for me was actually a record. So, and there was a couple of ways that I was able to achieve that. Before I started job searching, I sat down and really had a heart-to-heart with myself, got out a sheet of notebook paper, and really wrote down the things that I didn't want to do. I wrote down my hard non-negotiables, and I wrote down the things that I was really interested in and the things that I really wanted in a company. And then another list I made was the industries that I was really interested in working in. After I did that, I figured out, okay, this is how many jobs I'm going to apply to each day, and this is the channel that I'm going to use. So on one day, I would find like 10 jobs that were only on LinkedIn. And then on a different day, I would use the American Marketing Association's website, which is a professional association that I'm a member of, to find specific marketing related jobs. And then on Fridays, I would kind of reach out to my network and ping people who I knew. On LinkedIn, I have about 8,000 followers. There's a good chunk of people who I have built good relationships with. So every single day I was cranking out between 10 to 15 applications every single day. And I had a spreadsheet that I created to help me keep track of the jobs that I was applying to, the title, the company, the password, and the username that I would have to create for the account to apply. And I also kept record of what I was applying with. So there were some jobs where I was only applying with my LinkedIn profile. There were some jobs that I was applying with my actual resume. Some jobs I applied with resume cover letter, and then some jobs I was applying with all three. Oh my goodness, I keep saying replying, not applying, but applying with all three of them. Overall, I applied to, I want to say 60 to 70 open positions within a 2.5 week time frame, and I heard back. I received about 20 interviews, which is a pretty good success rate for me. And a bonus is that majority of those companies that I landed interviews with was on the Fortune 500 list. So I was very adamant about that. Most of my marketing career so far has been in the small business to mid-sized business space. And I told myself this time around I really wanted to go back to a large, well-known corporation, company, brand, etc. And that I really didn't want to stay in the small business space because I felt like there wasn't a lot of room for me to grow. And as someone who's really big on like professional development, education, learning, like evolving, what I would find is that sometimes with these smaller companies, I would hit a wall very quickly. Like within a year and a half, I felt like there was really nowhere else to go. They wouldn't promote me, they wouldn't grow the department, because for a lot of small companies, marketing is something that they feel like one person can do and one person can handle. So there wasn't anywhere for me to go after I kind of mastered everything, and once I kind of did what needed to be done, there was nothing else to do. So I was like, no, this time around I need to be with a big company where I can grow, where I have a team, where I can really be sharpened and where I can be coached and stuff like that. So majority of the companies that I interviewed with were all Fortune 500, if not Fortune 100 companies, and I was very specific about that. And I'm happy that I achieved that goal as well. And I don't feel like I've been lowballed, or that I've been like given the short end of the stick, or like I've been giving a salary. Like some companies will give you a salary and it's like, oh, let's see what you do for us, and then, you know, we'll go ahead and promote you and you have the opportunity to receive more the next year. I didn't want to hear that, because I had heard that before and it did not happen. And here I am delivering and I'm giving my very best, and I'm still getting BS when it comes to giving me more money, and I just was over it. So I am happy that I was able to more than double my salary at my new job. Next on my high list was leaving a super toxic job. So my last job was ridiculously toxic AF. There was a lot of stuff that went on within the company. There was a lot of things that happened to me in terms of the way that I was treated, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I was supposed to be, I had asked to be promoted several times. I had knocked everything out of the park, done what I was supposed to do, did more than what I was supposed to do, and I was still kind of getting the runaround. There was also a lot of nepotism within the company. There was a lot of like unethical things going on inside of the company. I can't say too much because my ex-boss is like obsessed with me. She's probably going to watch this video and send me some sort of a cease and desist letter. but who cares? I'll keep it I'll keep it PG. But you know, point blank period, it was not the best work environment for me. I was super depressed working there, and I hated going there is what it had come to. I had been there for almost 3 years, and it just was not what I hoped that it would be. So towards the end of my time there, I knew it was coming, and I knew that I had to get out of there. I knew that I deserved better, and so I had been saving up my money for a while, and I still had income coming in from writing resumes. So I just went ahead and left and did not look back, did not give it 2 weeks or anything like that. I just kind of chucked the deuces and left because I was miserable. I was so miserable. Like, I can't even put it into words. And I understand that that is a luxury. Not everybody is able to just up and quit their job with nothing lined out and nothing lined up and be able to maintain their lifestyle and not have to worry about bills or anything like that. But I have been planning to leave that job for quite some time. I planned on leaving in 2020, but then the pandemic hit and everybody was losing their jobs left and right. So I was like, all right, I might as well just go ahead and stay. And I was hoping that the work that I did during the pandemic for the company would lead them to promote me, and they kind of saw how I took charge and how all of my effort actually helped propel our sales. But unfortunately, that did not happen. And so I was like, you know what? It's time to go. So that's a message for anyone out there. Like, if you plan on leaving your job, you hate your job is toxic, before you just kind of up and quit, make sure your money is together. Maybe give yourself 6 months to save up in advance to see if you can, you know, make sure that your expenses are covered before you go. I understand that not everyone can do that, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to, and was able to take some much needed time off. So I took about 6 months off from the job market, period. I left that position in March, and I didn't start applying to new jobs until October. So I was able to really kind of decompress and heal and do some reflecting, and to also figure out, you know, what are some red flags for me when it comes to some of these companies, because you see the job descriptions and you see the pretty pictures on the website, but I need to know what your culture is like, right? That's where I am. I don't want to deal with any nepotism. I don't want to deal with any bullies. I do not want to be micromanaged. I don't want to be BS. Like, I don't want any of that. So I took some time out to figure out, again, what I really wanted in not just a title itself, but also in the company. Are they big on diversity? Majority of my jobs, I've always been like the only person of color there. That has led to some interesting stories, and I'm pretty sure I'll share them later. And so you just, you know, I got tired of a lot of stuff. So I'm like, no, I want to go somewhere where diversity is there, where they really care about their people, where work balance is really like a real thing and they're not just saying it, where I feel respected, where I feel valued, where I feel heard, where I feel like my opinions matter, and so on and so forth. So for me, finding this new position and finding this new company was so much deeper than a salary and a job title. I really wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I would not have to deal with the things that I dealt with before, which included pay discrimination, racial discriminations. Like, I've had some crazy stuff happen to me, especially as a Black woman. Again, maybe I'll share it one day. Y'all probably wouldn't believe it when I tell you, if I tell you, but yeah. Getting out of that company was just such a breath of fresh air. The day that I left, like, I just felt like this weight lifted off my shoulders, and I knew that I made the right decision. Another high was actually landing multiple job offers, which is the first time that this has happened to me, and I hope it is not the last. So aside from Walgreens, I was actually offered 2 other positions as well. So I had a total of 3 offers from all of the interviews that I went on, and that was a major win for me. And it's so crazy because I spoke that into existence. As soon as I started applying, I said, I'm gonna mess around and have like 3 to 4 different offers to choose from, and lo and behold, that is exactly what ended up happening, which just goes to show, like, my resume skills is like bomb. I'm sorry, I gotta dust off my shoulder because your girl is hot. Yes, the resume plays a role in it, but of course I'm qualified, I'm experienced, I had, you know, my skills and my experience to back it up. So of course my resume plays a part, but ultimately it got me callbacks, and I was able to close the deal with my interviewing skills, which I've always been a really great interviewer, so I wasn't really concerned about that. But I was really happy that I was able to have my pick of what I wanted. Now Walgreens was ultimately the one that I wanted the most, so I went with that by default. They were also the highest salary that was on the table, but that wasn't the reason why I selected it. On top of, again, being able to interview with some really great companies, which included Honeywell, Northwestern University, Bank of America, Ulta, and Discover. Those were just a few. There were more, but I'm not going to spill all my tea. But majority of the companies, if not all of the companies that I was interviewing with, were really good, and I'm happy that I was able to land multiple offers, because how many people can say that? And as a job seeker, it just feels so good when you have people bidding for you. There was one company who was actually willing to increase their salary in order to get me to come on board, but unfortunately I told them, like, this is my top pick and this is what I'm going with. But you know, great experience, and ended up connecting with the hiring manager and the recruiter on LinkedIn, so maybe something will come from that later on down the road. You never know. But it was a win for me to just have multiple offers, and again, it was crazy that I had spoke that into existence, which just goes to show, you guys, have confidence in yourself and speak nothing but good things over yourself, and know that you are the bomb.com, and speak whatever you are dreaming, your wildest dream, into existence, because that's what I wanted. I wanted 3 to 4 different offers to choose from, and I hit the nail on the head, and I am so proud of myself. And last on the high list, I would say, is getting clear finally on where I see my career going. So for the longest time, like I said, I've been in marketing for about 6 years, and I've really been entry level, kind of climbing my way through the ranks and figuring out what I'm good at, figuring out what I want to do, yada yada yada. And I had never really thought long term until now, and I think it was because I still always saw myself as somebody who was still entry level, when I'm not anymore. I'm kind of ascending into leadership, which is what I've always wanted, and now I'm at a place now where I'm able to say, okay, I want to be the VP of marketing one day, or I want to be a director of marketing one day. And in order to get to that level, or I want to open my own marketing agency one day, consulting agency one day, and figuring out, okay, this is what it's going to take for me to get there. I'm going to have to go back to school, get my master's degree, which is something I've always wanted, continue to build and hone my personal brand. There are certain things that I need to learn in the professional workspace, such as diving into like data and analytics and leading teams, etc., etc. So now I'm at a place now where I'm just like, okay, I know where I would like to be realistically 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now. Like, I actually have a career plan, and I did not have one before. And I shared that in a previous video on my channel. I think it was the 14 aspirational career goals that you should have for 2022. I opened up about how I have kind of been winging it in my career. I had a plan, and I always had an idea for the things that I wanted. Like, I knew I wanted to be a marketing manager. I knew that at some point I wanted to advance to specialist, and I knew what I needed to learn to get there, but I didn't have anything set in stone the way that I do now, accompanied with like salary expectations and really like rock hard like SMART goals and everything else. So I'm proud of that at the end of last year I finally got super clear and got clarity on what it is that I want to do in my career and where I see myself going long term in the marketing space. Okay, so that was the joy of 2021. Let's go ahead and get into the pain. Y'all know the song Joy and Pain is like sunshine and rain. So that was the joy, that was the sunshine. Now let's go ahead and get into this rain and get into this pain. Here were my 2021 career lows that I survived and made it through. Okay, so at the top of this list is actually just dealing with all of the stuff that I dealt with at my last job. So again, there was a lot that I dealt with at that company. I was disrespected a couple of times. I was called out of my name. I was talked about in a negative way in meetings behind closed doors that I didn't really know about. Being denied a pay increase and a promotion, having my job actually, or the promotion that I wanted given to somebody else. So instead of promoting me, they ended up bringing in somebody else else to be over me, which was just such a slap in the face. And I was done with it. I was over it. That is actually what prompted me to leave. So dealing with everything that I dealt with there, I was super depressed. My confidence was like in the gutter, and I just was not myself when I left that position. In real life, like the energy that you guys see in my videos is how I am in reality. Like I'm very positive, I'm very optimistic, I'm very bubbly, I'm very charismatic, I'm very like, you know, the world is all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. But when I left that job, I was just in such a bad space. Like it was hard for me to get out of bed in some days. I struggled going to that place, like towards the tail end of it. I just did not want to be there. I was miserable. And it's crazy because I felt like I was silenced. You feel like you can't speak up for yourself. You feel like you can't be honest. You feel like you can't even be yourself, right? So I have to go in here pretending that I'm okay, pretending that I'm not like pissed and that I'm not mad, pretending that my coworkers have not said these things about me. And you know, you just go in and you have to be a shell of yourself for this paycheck. And so that was my low, is really letting it get to that point and enduring everything that I did. But I stayed and I dealt with it for as long as I did, because I thought that if I stuck it out and if I dealt with it, that they would promote me and they would see how valuable I was and see how awesome I was and how committed I was. And that didn't happen. But it's not all bad, because I did take a lot of things from that position, such as learning e-commerce. I got really deep into like Google Ads and Google Analytics and data and customer shopping behaviors. I had the opportunity to rebrand the entire company's website, which brought in a lot of new sales and kind of increased our ranking on like Google organically. So I did a lot of stuff there that I am proud of. Unfortunately, I just hate that it came at the expense of my mental health. Number 2 is feeling stuck. So after I left that position, again, I had like a 6-month gap where I just had to get my head together. And I was just like, dang, what do I do next? What do I want to do next? You know, kind of rediscovering myself, again, getting my confidence back up. I had to like go back to like saying my daily affirmations, and I talked to my therapist, and I had to vent and just had to get all of that negativity out of my system and not dragging it into my next job. And I feel like that's something that is not talked about, how the trauma and the things that we endure and that we deal with in our past roles really affect us when we go forward into our next job or into our next opportunity. And you know, then we're paranoid and we're worried about people talking about us, and every single thing is a sign. And I was like, no, I don't want to bring that energy, you know, into this next opportunity, because I knew that this next opportunity would be amazing. I spoke it into existence. I'm really big on like meditating and manifestation, and I'm just like, no, my next job is going to be bomb. I don't know what it is yet, but I just know that it's going to be for me. And I didn't want to bring that energy to my new set of coworkers, to my new boss, and everything like that. So for a while, yeah, I felt stuck. I felt sad. I felt very lost. I'm like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what's in the cards for me. It was a very strange period for me, but I'm happy that I got unstuck. And what really helped me was journaling and therapy. Another low, I would say, related to my last job was just feeling super depressed after leaving that job. Now, if you follow me on LinkedIn or if you follow me on Instagram, I have been open about my struggle with clinical depression. I was diagnosed back in 2014 after my father passed away, and ever since then it's been kind of up and down, but I've learned what my triggers are and how, when I'm having like a depressed episode, what that actually looks like, the signs and the symptoms. And for me, as somebody who naturally has a lot of energy, and I'm just very like, when I'm excited about something and I love doing something, I will just want to do it. My biggest sign for me was that I did not want to go to work. I didn't want to get out of bed. There were some days where I would call off just so I wouldn't have to deal with the negativity and like how bad that place just drains you. And I would stay in bed all day with the curtains closed, with the door closed, the room completely dark, just binge watching Netflix. And that was when I was like, you know what, I think that I'm having a moment, and I think my job is triggering my depression right now. And so leaving that environment, I felt so many things. I felt like a failure. I felt like I had I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I was a screw up, and I just felt like, all those things that people say to you, if you're not strong enough, or if you don't have somebody who's kind of reinforcing you and kind of pushing that out, it sticks to you. So some of the things that they said is like you almost start to believe it, because you're not paying me more and I'm being disrespected, so it must be true. And then I was dealing with personal stuff at home as well, which did not help the situation. So yeah, leaving that position, feeling stuck, piggybacking off of that, was also just feeling super depressed. But I am much better now. I have been really focusing on self-care for the past like 2 to 3 months, just making sure that my mental health is together, both my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, my spiritual health. I'm happy to say that I am much better now, and I am hoping that I never have to be in a position where I'm sacrificing my mental health for a paycheck, and that I don't have to suffer through that or something similar to that ever again. But yeah, leaving that job, dealing with that post-depression was really hard, and I took baby steps. It took a good 3 to 4 months before I really felt like myself again. And I would say my last low of last year was not getting back into school. So I am in the process of searching for master's degree programs now. Well, I'm searching for master's programs, and I'm looking at different certification programs as well. But I really planned on going back to school last year, and I was banking on getting a promotion and being able to enroll in the fall. But when that did not happen, I had like a whole moment, and I was so upset because I'm working on this. I am someone who was always like, oh, I gotta do this by 30, I gotta do this by 35, I gotta do this by 27. Like, it's always been an age thing for me, and I always planned on having my master's degree by the time I turned 35. So last year I was like, yo, I need to be in school, I need to be enrolling. Now it's kind of like I feel like I'm a year behind, and now I'm not gonna finish the program until I'm like 36, and if I take time off, and then I have to accelerate it, and yada yada yada. But I'm learning, or I have learned, that that is not necessarily a big deal. I've been looking into a lot of certification programs as of lately, and I actually feel like they may be even more cost effective for me, as opposed to having to take out more loans and things like that. So that is something that I was really sad about, and I will call it a low moment, because I was really upset about it. I planned on, logging into a program in the fall, like around September or October, and the fact that I didn't just crushed me, because again, it just kind of felt like I set the mark and then I didn't hit it, and so I failed at it. So not being back in school last year like I planned for, and I had done the research ahead of time, and I figured out the school I wanted to go to, and I was prepared, and then it just seemed like everything went haywire. On top of that, the pandemic did not help, right? So the program originally, when I first looked into it, was on campus. It was a blend of online, then it was 100% online. Then a lot of the classes had gotten canceled. So everything was kind of like up and down. But ultimately, I realized it's like I call it a low, but I actually feel like it worked out for the best, because now I have discovered some better educational opportunities out there that are not as expensive, and I'm probably going to end up and go with those. And if I do want to go back and get my master's, which I probably will, maybe I'll go next year instead. My job has some fantastic tuition benefits, whereas my last job did not, so it actually ends up working out in the end. So those were my 2021 career lows and highs. And so I feel like for the longest time, I was really focused on all of the negative and not so much the positive. Again, possibly the Virgo in me, because it's just like, man, this happened and this happened. But my friends, and I'm so grateful that I have a great support system of family and friends who love me so much and support me and really do a great job of kind of lifting me up when I'm feeling down, of telling me like, hey, but Tamika, you also did this, and this. I started this YouTube channel last year. That was a high. And I had planned on doing it in 2020, but I prolonged it because I was nervous and I was scared and I didn't think I could do it. So yes, throw that back on throw that on the high list too. But Yeah, so I'm at a place now where I am appreciative of the lows that happened because I feel like I learned a lot from it, and it's really going to set the stage for how I move this year and in the future. I know now that I don't ever want to deal with a toxic job like that. I know that if a job is kind of tugging on my mental health or impacting my mental health, I need to get the F out like ASAP. This is not a drill. This is not a game. I'm out. Deuces. I got my money saved up. I have my emergency savings fund. I got three other streams of income. I don't have to be here if I don't want to be. And again, never wanting to sacrifice my mental health for a paycheck, and being as clear as I possibly can be on where I want to go in my career and the things that I want to do. So if you made it to the end of this video, I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give me a like. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button below, and feel free to chime in the comments. Have you ever had a job that impacted your mental health? Have you ever felt stuck in your career? How did your 2021 go professionally and career-wise? I would love to know. I haven't been getting too many comments, but I am working on that. So I want you all to give me some feedback. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear things that you are comfortable with sharing. So go ahead and comment down below. I will see you all Monday with a regular LinkedIn resume job search tip video. And if you do need help with a resume, you can go ahead and email me directly at hello@thompsonresumes.com. You can also visit my website at www.thompsonresumes.com. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye, you guys.